Hi there everybody, and welcome. And to start with, we're going to be getting on, well, I'm going to be getting on this week with actually getting this base sorted out. It's the right time. Everything has been done and finished off, i.e. the build work. All it leaves now is just all the finer details, and it would be very remiss of me if I left it any longer. So that's what we're going to be doing. I will be having a little bit of a chat with you as we go along. I will condense this down because this is really going to take me about a week by laying down coats of paint, waiting for them to dry, sanding them back, and trying to get a nice finish on this base, because it is important, because I do really feel that it reflects your build. If you've got a shabby base, it makes your actual build look a bit shabby. But if you've got a nice, crisp, sharp base, it makes your build stand out a little bit more. Well, that's my personal opinions anyway. So with that, let's get on and get started. Now we're back down here to the base. There's a couple of things I'm going to do before I start any masking up or anything like that. The first thing is I'm going to hit it with some 120 paper to flatten all the bits down. And also what I'm going to be doing as well is I'm going to be getting a scribe, very similar to this one, and I'm going to be raking around this bottom edge, and I'm going to try and clean a pathway all the way round. And the reason I'm doing this is when I put my masking tape down, it's not going to stick to all these areas along the bottom here. So my idea is if I score this and make a paint line, that the paint will actually run under the masking tape and actually into this line and no further, and that then will give me a nice crisp clean edge, even though it will be a bit wavy, but it will give me a nice edge. So that's what I'm going to be doing first. So I'm going to get on now with my 120 paper, and I'm also going to just score this all the way around, right the way around, which will take me a few minutes, but I'll come back to you when I've done it. My sanding's all been done. I've been all the way around with the 120 grit. As you can see, it's really sort of brought that back down. I've used my little scribe and I've channeled out all the way around. So it's all been hoovered, cleaned up, and now we get on with the masking. Now, because I'm using spray cans, there's going to be a lot of overspray, so I need to mask the whole building off. So to start off with, what I'm going to do is I'm going to run my masking tape all the way round, but I'm going to leave a gap of about 10mm between the base and the top of the masking tape here. So I'm going to get on and get that done, and then I'll come back to you. Now, I've put the masking tape all the way round, left me a little 10mm gap, and you'll find out the reason why I've left a 10mm gap a little bit later on. And the next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to be using some of this stuff. Now this is masking paper, which they use in the the car industry, should I say. It's very cheap. It's about $3.99 for about 60 metres, and there's a lot on a roll. And of course this don't absorb paint or anything like that. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go right the way around again, and I'm going to just tape on this paper so I can actually enclose the whole thing. So I'm going to crack on with that. Okay, I've totally enclosed the building in the masking paper. I put an extra line around just to make sure everything's nice and tight. Reason being is this actually won't come off now until the whole job is finished, so it's staying on permanently. Next little thing I've got to do is to run some more masking tape round. Yeah, even more masking tape. I left the 10mm gap. It was just so that I could get this paper on, but also now it's going to allow me to actually run around with my masking tape and get my nice edge all the way round. So I'm going to get on with that and get all the way round done, and then I'll come back to you. I've run the tape all the way round, and all I'm going to do now is I'm just going to use my scriber and just push that back into that little gap that I earlier scribed in using this tool. So that edge now is going to be nice and tight and clean, like so. Right, that is it for that stage. Now we get on to spraying. So we'll move across and go into the spray booth. So now we're into the spray booth, and before I go any further, this spray booth here, I rebuilt it a year and a half ago, and I uprated this spray booth middle of last year. I upgraded it to a 6-inch inline fan with a non-arcing motor on it, and also it's got a cartridge filter, inline cartridge filter as well. So this little spray booth is quite capable of handling solvent paints. Now, if you've got one of them little desktop spray booths, don't even attempt to use solvents in that, because it just will not handle it. If you're going to be using it and you haven't got a spray booth that can deal with the solvents, take your item outside and spray it out there, and don't forget to even wear a mask as well. I'm going to be wearing a mask, even though I know this spray booth is pretty good, but at the moment my lungs are not that good and I want to protect myself as much as I can. So the little lecture over and done with. What I'm going to be doing now is just giving this a coat of red primer. Why red primer? Because it's the only one I got. I thought I had some grey, but I haven't. But the red will do. And then we'll be giving it coats of just a standard multi-purpose spray paint. This is all solvent based, and like I say, solvent, it will kill you. It will. It destroy your lungs. Now, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to have to move things around because it's very difficult trying to show you in my little spray booth. But we're going to get things turned on and switched on. I have been shaking this for the last 5 or 6 minutes, and we are literally going to give this a spray all the way around. You'll have to excuse me because I'm in a very difficult position because I've got the camera virtually under my arm, and I should go and get myself some gloves as well. So we get the basic idea of what I'm going to do. Now I'm going to give that a few minutes to dry. I shall give it another coat, give that a few minutes to dry, give it another coat. I will do about 4 or 5 coats, light coats, leaving it just to go dry. And then when I've done my final coat, I will be taking that tape off all the way round, but I will come back for that. Now we've had a good 5 coat, well actually a few more than 5, because there was a few areas that just wouldn't take, so I have to keep coming back and just laying a bit more primer over them areas, but it's basically covered now. So what I'm going to do now is take the tape off, and I'm going to leave this to dry for a good, I'd say a couple of days, well a day, but we'll take this tape off now. Go. Tape's off. So I'm going to leave it to dry, and then what's today? Saturday, probably Monday I'll come back to it and we'll start getting it rubbed down, ready to start putting the top coat on. A nice close-up shot of the base. Now as you can see, it is quite rough, even though we've put a good 3-4 coats on. But if I move it round to here, you can see it's quite rough. But now I've started to knock it back with some wet and dry, and I'm quite happy with that. There's a few little pit holes, but they will get filled up next time with the next coat of paint, and it will be another rub down, and we should get it to virtually being perfect. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to carry on and get this all wet and dried back. Yes, wet and dry. I'm using wet and dry, a couple of reasons. You don't get no dust, and secondly, wet and dry goes a lot further. Where sandpaper clogs up, you put your wet and dry into the water and it cleans the muck out, so you can keep using it. So I'm going to carry on, and I will be back with you shortly. Right, this is all being rubbed down right the way through, wet and dry. I use a little bit of white spirit just to give it a clean off, and I've left it to dry. Now I'm going to run through the same routine as I did earlier. I'm going to run around with my masking tape down to the edge, then I'm going to cut it back in using my little scribe and tuck it back into that little groove we cut earlier, and then I'm going to take it into the spray booth and give it at least about four heavy coats, and I'm hoping on that one we should fill all these little pockets up that are left, and the final one's going to be a nice little rub down and give it a final coat. So I'm going to get on with that, and I will be back with you shortly. Right, out the spray booth, tape being taken off. It's had a good 24 hours to dry. I gave it 3 coats, which is turning out pretty well actually. This has got a nice finish to it, so I don't think I'm going to be doing any lacquering at all. But there's a few little sort of imperfections along this edge which my eye picks up. So what I'm going to do now is some wet and dry 600 grit. I'm going to knock this all back and retape up again and get it back into the spray booth and give it another 2 or 3 coats, and then we'll have a look and we'll go from there. I've used me 600 paper and I've knocked it all back. I've got rid of the little areas. There was a few areas that as I was rubbing back it sort of revealed itself, so I've dealt with them. So next thing to do is put the tape on, as we normally do. Put the tape on, push it back, and we'll get it into the spray booth and give it another couple of coats. Now I'm going to give it 3 medium coats with about half an hour in between each coat, and then I'll take the tape off and we'll see what we've got. Okay, we're into the spray booth and we're going to give this hopefully the last final 3 coats. Now I thought I'd just run through, because I've not really shown you how I sort of use a spray can, and come to think about it, I don't really think about it, I just do it. So most of the instructions tell you to keep it 15 to 30 centimeters away from the actual area you're spraying, but it does depend on what you're spraying. Now I just like to get I like to watch the spray pattern as we're going. So I'm going from bottom to the top in just these short bursts. Right, so I might as well continue around. I haven't got my mask on because I'm talking. Very naughty of me, but we'll finish the run. And I'm watching more of my spray pattern, and I'm watching the dry edge run round, because I do wet spray as they call it, because once that dry edge is gone, you've gone all the way around. So that is the first coat of my finishing coat. Now I'm going to leave that now for, well, I'm going to leave it for half an hour, then I'm going to come back and I'm going to do exactly the same again, then leave it for another half an hour, come back and do the final coat, and I'm hoping I won't have to do any more rubbing down. So that's that bit, and we'll see you in a little while. Tape's off, paper's off, it's finished. Now it's got a nice shine to it. We could go a little bit further and give it a couple of coats of lacquer. I don't think it needs it, and it's a bit more work, and I really haven't got the time. But if you wanted to, like I say, you could knock it back and really give it 4 or 5 good coats of lacquer, which would really deepen that shine even more. But I'm quite happy with it as it is. The score line that I ran on all the way round, that has done the job nicely. It's given me a nice crisp edge against the actual diorama itself, and totally separated the base from the actual diorama, which I wanted. I know there's a few bits of dust on there, but I'm going to keep my sticky fingers away from them. That's going to be left now until Sunday. It's Wednesday today. I'm going to give it a good time to cure off and harden, and then I'm going to start getting on with the rest of the bits and pieces. Now, a quick rundown. If you're going to use spray cans, they are good, but there's a lot of things you've got to remember. The first thing is that spraying from a spray can, they're solvent, and they are going to damage your lungs if you try and do it in your house or in your shed, unless you've got a good spray booth that you can actually put it into. If you are going to be using the rattle cans, first thing I would say is don't just take them out of the shed and use them. Take them out of the shed, put them into your house somewhere warm, and let them get up to temperature, because it will affect your finish. Also, if you're spraying outside, pick a warmish day. Make sure your cans are warm, it's a warm day, that way you will always get a good finish. And the final thing I will say, which is, get yourself a mask. Even if you're spraying outside, get yourself a mask and wear it. The simple reason is it will damage your lungs. Even if you're outside, you will get inhalements of this solvent paint, and it doesn't do you no good. But that's the only stipulation. If you're going to use a can, get yourself a mask. Excuse me. Now, I'm quite happy. It's done, it's finished, and this, like I say, now is going to be put to one side. But the eagle-eyed of you might have noticed, up in the far corner here, I've actually got the house out. Yes, we're going to get started on the house. We're going to get this finished. My next little project, while this is drying off, is to make a base for the house, and then I want to get this finished. Simple reason is my nice big new modelling room has got some great big display cases in, and it'd be nice to actually have something to put on the shelves, because a lot of the stuff I've done has gone to other people, and I feel it's time, really, I should sort of start getting things finished off and done. So that will be up soon, that video, and that's about it. That's all I can say. So I hope to see you on the next video. Until then.